See, so apparently this gentleman,
do we have a link?
he tried to buy. Yeah, I'll link it again. He tried to get sex, or he's accused of trying to trade chicken Alfredo and Sprite for sex. And this gentleman is not parting from his chicken Alfredo, like for anything less than sex. So I believe the story.
I just looked at his face. I'm waiting for it. He looks like he might make a mean chicken Alfredo, though.
I bet so. This guy has perfected his technique through many lonely nights of watching Emeril Lagasse and cooking up chicken Alfredo.
When I think of a guy that knows his carbs, this is a guy that I'm looking at.
Can I just say, I feel bad, really bad for this guy. First of all, you look at his mugshot. He looks terrified. Okay, like some people's mugshots, you could say they look okay. This guy, he knows it's game over, bro. I just got caught propositioning a 15-year-old boy with Sprite and chicken Alfredo with a boatload of lubricant in tow. Like he had Astroglide and some kind of lotion.
Doesn't that suggest something different, though? Like, I mean, clearly this is him propositioning a 15-year-old boy. There's a problem there. We don't have to touch that. But they're using it almost like the way that's set up title-wise and the way the article is written. It's acting like he's trying to pay with that. Doesn't it just sound much more like it's just like a fucking dinner date?
That's absolutely what it is.
Yeah, what it definitely is like they must have in the chat been like, hey, bring over chicken Alfredo and Sprite, and you can have my underage behind. And then when he shows up with chicken Alfredo and Sprite, they're like, this is exactly what I told you to bring if you wanted to get busy, and you brought chicken Alfredo.
Look, I've traded chicken Alfredo and Sprite for sex many times, okay? It's called a date. So I'm with Filthy on this. It sounds a lot like this guy was arranging a date. And just looking at this guy.
15-year-old?
Well, yeah, clearly inappropriate target.
That's
right?
That's my next point. Look at this guy. Does he look like a grown-up?
No. How old is he?
22.
He looks about 22.
He does.
But I'm
he's
saying
very
actually,
if
you told me he was 16 to 25, I buy all of those ages.
Just said I thought he was the victim at first.
They arrested him for only taking photos for his profile from like up here, and then they showed up and you're not the same person. You big
my honest thought process is that a 15-year-old who's having first of all, there was no 15-year-old, of course. It was a fictional person.
A cop online typing.
Yeah.
But he thought there was.
But he thought there was. And I would imagine that, like, look, a 15-year-old guy who's talking sexually to a 22-year-old guy, I don't see a predatory nature in that, personally. Do you?
Yes.
Do you think that a 15-year-old boy could have the...
Are you an Alabama voter by chance?
Not yet, but they need me though, don't they? Boy Moore got bamboozled over there. We had almost run the queers and the Jews and the Chinks right out of town, and then they used some sort of fraudulent voting practices to beat us down and take away the American way.
No, that was so high on the list.
Well,
it was number one.
So, Kyle, you don't see this 22-year-old and this 15-year-old as predatory?
I don't know, because the 15-year-old is a fictional individual, but I just think of 15-year-old me. If I'm talking sexually with a 22-year-old girl online, I'm like, jackpot, triple cherries. We fucking gotten in there, boys. Keep this quiet, but we struck gold here. We struck gold here. But that's just my thought process.
That was Milo's thought process too.
Sure. Well, he was talking about a much older man, like some guy's like 30s or 40s or something like that. And I see a problem with that because the maturity level, by the time you're 30 or 40, you must have.
But 15 to 22 is a huge gap in the maturation process.
Sometimes.
Look, Filthy's an expert in pedophile behavior. It's a gap, right?
How do I even what do I do with this now? What do I just answer you every time you answer me?
Yeah, just say indeed it is.
I'm just shit out of luck at this point for the rest of my existence with this. Kyle's point, like to devil's advocate a little bit, like it did kind of remind me. I had a friend in high school who was gay, and he talked about to me at some point, later, about some of his early dating was online dating, and it was with older men who were much older than him, when he was first exploring his sexuality. So that's all the fuck he could find. So on some level, I hear Kyle's point of there could be a situation in which this wasn't a predatory behavior. But at the same time, 22 and 15 is like, it's really fucking hard to get your head around that. Especially, I mean, clearly with a fictional character, it makes no difference whatsoever. It's going to be charged as pedophilia,
He's right on the
etc.
cusp of legality, right? Like it isn't.
Well,
if he were 19,
right?
No,
he would
bear
be.
with me here. Isn't the age of consent in some states 16? And isn't the law that they have to be within like 6 years? So it sounds like they're a year away from being legal.
No, that can't be true.
Well, that doesn't sound right. I'd need to check on his state, but a common is you have to be within 4 years. But at 16, you can consent to anybody, I think.
Oh,
I
my.
expected us
normal
all
one.
to be on the same page with this one, guys. I gotta be honest. I expect us to be like, what a fucking creep.
It's no
He's trying
fun
to
if
fuck
we're
a
all on the
15-year-old
same
with his,
page.
he's gonna.
Someone has to play the devil's advocate. I don't
Of
want
course,
this 22-year-old to be
course.
running around the streets trading Alfredo for boy ass. I'm just saying. Come on.
Bring Alfredo, Sprite, and a molded asshole tart. Damn. I need to know what I'm getting into.
And for those who are looking, this 22-year-old, he could pass for a high schooler.
He's so fat that he's got that fat face of like
got
he
a
could
soft
be
look about
20. If you told me he was 20, I'd believe you.
It's
He's
16.
spongy.
I looked it up. In Ohio, when you're 16, you can I think I was right on the money. I don't know if they have an earlier one, but I know that at 16, you can consent.
So he was a year away from being legal, right?
Yeah.
It could be months away.
No,
Could be a day away.
It's by state, right? When you looked
Yes.
at that one, what did it say? Is it because I know there's a lot of stuff. It's like if you're 16, you can consent to like someone who's like up to like a couple years older than you, but there's like a limit at like 35 is like way out of the limit or something like that, right? So
a normal
that
thing
not?
is there's a lower age. Like at 13 or 14, you can consent to within 4 years.
Oh, I see.
And then at 16, you can disguise
consent to anyone.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a
But it was
map.
18.
Alright.
So I'm not seeing the earlier one.
There's a-
Oh, anyone between 13 and 16 can have sex with someone under 18. This is Ohio. So at 13, there's even 5-year gap there. And when they become 16, they can consent to anybody. And also, if you're going to be having sex with young people, it goes by birthday, right? So if you're 17 and the other person's 13, check the calendar because you might be 4 years and like 5 days, and that's illegal.
Dude, what the fuck are these people doing in Guatemala? Like, I just looked at the whole North American age of consent thing, and they have a color map that I linked you guys. And, like, the U.S. is the lowest it is anywhere is 16. And then if you go Mexico, it's 12 in some areas and 13 in almost every area. And Guatemala's just says puberty. So when you
If
hit
there's
puberty,
grass on the
you're
field,
good
time to play ball.
go.
Welcome to Guatemala.
Where
Yeah,
do you see
and-
Guatemala?
If you have to click on the map, and then it's that country south of Mexico.
There was an 11-year-old who had hit puberty like a fucking sledgehammer that I remember. In the 5th grade, this chick named Lindsay had like C cups. It was obscene because she hadn't figured out how to like handle them yet, and she's walking around at 15 with these fucking bowling balls attached, or at 11, excuse me, and we're all in the 5th grade. Like, what the fuck happened to her? Like,